Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bay Area Focus. I'm your host, Michelle Griego. We would love to hear some show ideas, so please go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Bay Area Focus and comment to the page. We have a great show for you today. We're going to hear from a risk-taking art organization, a nonprofit teaching the community how to garden, and an organization helping low-income food entrepreneurs. But up first, we have Rachel Lehmann-Haupt, author of In Her Own Sweet Time, Egg Freezing, and the New Frontiers of Family. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Nice to be here.
Nice for you to be here. So egg freezing, it's become somewhat of a trend, right?
It has. You know, it's a super exciting time for women. We are beating out men in terms of our college degrees, in terms of STEM jobs. And because of that, our careers are becoming more center in our lives. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to postpone having our families. And therefore, there's this new technology that is allowing women to put their eggs on ice, literally, and have their kids later so they can put their economic power ahead of their procreative power.
Right. So you say the Centers for Disease Control, they released some data, and it showed that women are having their first child between the ages of 34. That rose.
Yeah, since 2001, it's rose a number of percent points. More and more women are having children later, over the age of 35. And because of that, we run into fertility problems. Some of us don't run into fertility problems, some of us do. Fertility is very variable for women, and it's a very individual thing. But this new technology has been invented, and it's now being covered by many of the Bay Area companies, including Facebook and Google, that allows women to put a pause on their biological clock. I mean, when the pill was invented in the 1960s, it allowed women to turn off their fertility. Egg freezing is sort of the pill of the technology generation. It allows women to turn on their fertility when they need it.
So at what age do women say, okay, I better start thinking about egg freezing?
Well, the best time to do it is before you're 35, when you're really in the height of your fertility still, and you want to kind of freeze that strong fertility time. And then, if you decide to have a child at 40, you can get pregnant with your frozen eggs. The technology is very viable now. But it's expensive, and which is good that companies are starting to cover it now, because I would recommend, if a woman knows she's 28, 29, 30, she's got a couple years more to invest in her career to make money. She hasn't met Mr. Right yet. It would be a good time to freeze her eggs so she kind of can turn panic into peace.
And how does that process all work?
Well, it's really not such a difficult process. I mean, you'll see a lot of websites now, like egg freezing parties, and to go and learn about the process. I mean, I wouldn't describe it as a party. It's a couple of days of shots, and you get a little moody, your belly gets a little sore, and then you have to go in and have a surgery to have your eggs removed. But it's sort of the equivalent of getting your wisdom teeth pulled. Okay. You're out and you're up quickly again.
So what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I was looking around and I didn't see that women had a roadmap for all the new choices that we have in our lives now. I mean, we can stay single longer and freeze our eggs and have children later. We can have children on our own as single moms by choice, which many women are doing. And I didn't see a roadmap for women who were, getting married later and the demographic shifts. And so I ultimately wanted to write a book that would help women in making their choices as they're going through their 30s.
Okay, so you call yourself a DIY mom.
I do.
What does that mean?
DIY is do it yourself.
Sure.
Now, many women are getting married later or not meeting Mr. Right until their 40s these days. It's very common. So a lot of women are putting the cart before the horse and having children with either known donors or anonymous sperm donors, and becoming single moms by choice. And that is the decision that I made when I was 40. I hadn't met the love of my life yet, and I thought, I have the rest of my life to meet the love of my life, and but I don't have that time to have a biological child, so I went ahead and had a child on my own.
Was that a tough decision to make?
It was a tough decision to make, but ultimately it was the best decision of my life, because I have this wonderful 4-year-old son now.
Yeah, of course, right? Do you write about that in your book as well?
I do, yes. In this edition, there are there are 4 chapters that tell the story about my decision and everything I went through to get pregnant. And we were living on a houseboat in Sausalito, and it's a very exciting tale.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, yeah, it sounds interesting. We'll have to read the book. So you were talking about how companies are becoming more aware of this, and they're now tending to help out a little bit more.
Yeah, it all started with a patient, an employee at Facebook, I think was diagnosed with cancer, and she knew that, the chemotherapy treatment would render her infertile. And I think she went to Sheryl Sandberg and said, hey, why aren't you covering egg freezing, which is a way for me to save having a family because of my chemotherapy treatment on your health insurance plans? And Sheryl Sandberg said, yeah, well, why aren't we covering this? And why aren't we covering this for all women, whether, you need it for, to save your fertility for cancer, or because, you haven't met Mr. Right yet, or because you want to invest a few more years in your career. Yeah. And I think, a lot of companies are starting to now make that decision and also cover it on their health insurance plans, which lowers the costs for women.
Sure, yeah.
Gives us more opportunities.
That does give women more opportunity. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and for more information about In Her Own Sweet Time, just log on to Lehmann-Haupt.com. That's Lehmann-Haupt.com. Coming up, an art organization that is building community. We'll be right back.